Right, so let's get into the first film of today's three. Yesterday, released on June the 28th, 2019, directed by Danny Boyle. We had Himesh Patel as Jack Malik, Lily James as Ellie Appleton, Ed Sheeran as himself, and Kate McKinnon as Deborah Hammer. Jack Malik is a struggling singer-songwriter in an English seaside town whose dreams of fame are rapidly fading, despite the fierce devotion and support from his childhood best friend, Ellie. After a freak bus accident during a mysterious global blackout, Jack wakes up to discover that the Beatles had never existed. Performing songs by the greatest band in history to a world that has never heard them, Jack becomes an overnight sensation with a little help from his agents.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Hey!
Kyle, were you entertained?
Yes.
Amari, were you entertained?
Yes.
Giles, were you entertained?
Yes.
Ding, 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 it's a full house. I was entertained.
Oh, excellent. Oh, that's good.
Right,
That's good.
great start. Who wants to go first? Left or the right? Kyle, Giles? Kyle, take it away.
Yeah, I thought it was. I enjoyed this a lot. I thought it had a lot of heart. It had a lot of character. Started making me think like, what would I do if that sort of thing happened to me? Where he's finding out.
You saw the money signs, did you? Right?
Yeah.
Kyle was taking notes. He was thinking, now if I can somehow create a worldwide phenomenon and everybody forgets about the Spice Girls, can I do?
Nah, it was again when he finds out that cigarettes haven't been invented, Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
There were a few like little moments like that I liked. Yeah, I thought the tone of the film was spot on as well. It had a light-hearted feel, but it did have quite serious themes throughout as well in terms of the effect that he actually had on Ed Sheeran's character. Like the scene where...
Like what?
The scene where he's like, we'll both go and write a song.
Yeah.
And we'll come back and which one is better, we'll decide.
It's funny you mentioned that scene because I had that down in my notes as a nod to the Beatles. The way that Ed, because I don't know if you agree, but I mean, I don't really follow him outside of music or his Instagram and stuff, but from what I've heard and seen, he does seem like a very humble person. But in the film, he was quite egotistical. But that moment, it was like when he was like, no, so that's one of the most beautiful songs I've heard. You're amazing. That for me was a kind of nod to the Beatles. Like Ed Sheeran in real life as a pop star is
so like he's playing a parody of himself.
Yeah, like he's like showing respect to them in that way.
Yeah.
I saw it as two-part. Yeah, the respect part, but what it really was is showing that, for me, he's saying that he is the best singer-songwriter on the planet right now.
Oh, right.
That's the way I saw Ed Sheeran's role.
Yeah.
And because, obviously, if no one's heard of the Beatles, there's no one to argue against that conversation.
Yeah.
And now they heard, it's like, okay, now the conversation is now...
See, that's interesting.
So
I didn't even...
That's the way I can see your aspect,
how I saw it
but
as well.
I see it that way more than that way, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even see that.
I liked it. I thought it was quite an original idea. The question is, what if isn't original, but the concept of what can we take out that everyone's used to, and see how people would react. And again, going back to what Carl said, like, what would you do? What would you do if you knew something? Say something was in. What would you do if you had a previous knowledge that Apple Macs were going to be a thing, but nobody else knew what an Apple Mac was. Like you can just I thought it was very clever. I thought it was very, very clever.
And on that, I mean, I'm a fan of EastEnders. Ha ha, let's all laugh at me. I still watch it, but obviously,
I didn't even know it still came on.
Oh yeah, it does. Stronger than ever, mate. But there are certain actors who have.
Tamwa. Hey,
Yes.
listen.
Okay,
Listen.
You know what?
Hey, wait. Drop the bomb, right? Because let me hear the matter. There's a running joke going on. Don't take me for Tamwa. That is the running joke of life.
Yeah, and the fact that he put it like this: if someone can come from EastEnders and become like a sort of like a cult or like a meme kind of character, they're doing something right. In EastEnders, there are certain actors who you can tell have a bit more talent than others, and I always used to think, this guy, whatever he does after this, there'll be certain roles.
Is this guy Tamwa?
This is Tamwa. Yeah, exactly.
But touching on what you were saying about the feeling and what you're saying about the kind of what if, and you automatically picture what would you do. I think Himesh as Jack
Yeah.
he was brilliant.
Yeah.
He wasn't too much, he wasn't too little, he was quite humble with it. I think he caught that role perfectly. But because he is quite a sarky and a deadpan kind of guy, I think that was the exact kind of tone you needed in that character to really become invested.
That is sort of tone in EastEnders.
All the way through, all the way through.
Yeah.
And that's why he kind of always stood out a bit, because he would come with that sort of...
But he was in EastEnders as a kid, wasn't he?
He kind of grew up a bit in...
Because he had the fire, he had the fire and stuff.
That's an old character.
Yeah.
It does
But he was in
ring a
it for
bell.
a very long time.
Like when we was, what? Must be 10, it was over 10 years ago. Cause
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Yeah, because we was at, what? Before them times, yeah.
Okay. I did not even...
Yeah, but that's the thing.
I did not even know. But it does make sense. Like even the bit of the, just after he's had the accident and his teeth.
That was a lot.
What the hell was going on?
No, you know what?
That was a lot.
No, but what a lot was the joke.
But he kept on referencing it himself.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it does kind of, like you said, that Tamwa character kind of did kind of...
Yeah.
But I don't watch EastEnders, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't have picked up
but
on
that's
it.
part of the reason why when I saw the poster, straight away I was invested, because I was like, right, okay, you're coming from this. You seem like you might be one of the lead characters. Right, I want to see how well you do. And I think he smashed it, man. I think he was one of the best performances in the whole film.
Yeah, I agree with that. He definitely gave a good performance. Obviously, I haven't seen him in EastEnders to know what kind of to compare it to, but he was very convincing in his role. Yeah.
I think he gave range. And the other thing that I also was impressed by was that he could actually sing.
Yes.
And then I'm comparing him to Robin Hood guy when he did Rocket Man, and that's why I said he couldn't sing.
Oh, Egerton.
And then I compare him to Tamwa, and his name's still Tamwa for me, but Tamwa could sing in comparison.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed, and it made me realize how many Beatles songs I did know,
Yes.
but didn't think I knew.
Yes.
And then you don't know the whole song, and then you find out you don't actually know the whole song unless you've been to the places. And I thought that was a really honest touch, because when you see people saying, "Oh, do you remember this? Do you remember this line?" And I was like, "No." Do you know what they're talking about here? No. But when you go somewhere, it flicks in your mind, and it's like, "Oh, okay, this is a real life experience that anyone can do."
Yeah.
And it showed how the places that they was talking about in the songs, how they've been run down just by society and life. And I'm surprised, because I thought Liverpool as a city would have taken better care of those
bits,
locations.
Yeah. And touching on that, I thought that was excellent. The whole sort of way that, because he can't, it's like, think about it, he knows the songs, but then the Beatles have been wiped off of, so you can't Google the lyrics. So then the whole way that he had to kind of remind himself, go to the places, he's singing, I thought it was really, really good. Interestingly enough, so we've had Bohemian Rhapsody, we've had Rocket Man. You know, pretty soon into this film, you gather, right, it's about the Beatles. So I was like, right, okay, so clearly there seems to be this sort of rock legend theme thing going on. And it's funny because as the film started, I was thinking, I wonder what other, like, if or who would have a film about them. And then funnily enough, obviously I know we don't watch trailers, but I heard a trailer in the background and I heard Bruce Springsteen's name being mentioned.
I've seen a poster for that today on
Right,
Underground.
okay. So again, this was just an observation I had. I thought
What's the name of the film? Is it just Springsteen?
Something,
I can't
right?
remember.
I've seen the poster as well.
But again, I don't know if it was a film or an album.
No,
though.
it's a film. It's
It's
definitely a film.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the rest thing, I don't actually know any
Bruce
I know
Springsteen,
the
yeah.
name.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
I've never think I've ever heard any of his songs. So I'm kind of like,
It was
it'll
just
be interesting
Born
to
in
find
the
out.
USA.
Yeah.
I think it's Springsteen.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Born
right.
in the USA. You probably heard it. You probably
I think I
heard
know
That's a
that.
little bomb for his musical knowledge
Nah,
there.
to be honest, that's the only one.
you
I
sing
know.
it?
Is that you karaoke on a Saturday, mate? Go on. Down the pub, that's Carly.
He's not going to sing it, is he?
No singing. No singing.
So we're just gonna see. I've been over here compiling a list of stuff that you. So no, what was it? No butter.
Yeah.
No bananas, no meat,
Yeah.
no football, and now no singing.
That's right. This is getting bigger.
Love that. But yeah, it was just kind of an observation that we just seem to be in this sort of season of rock legend theme films. But one thing that I really, really loved about this was, okay, so we've had kind of two biopic themed films. This was telling us, not really about the Beatles per se, but it was, telling us about some of their music, but in such a different way. Danny Boyle, man, obviously, the minute I knew his name was attached to this, I was invested. I thought, right. And I think he does really well with these kind of normal kind of films, but then it will add these fantastical elements to it, but do it in a way where it's not coming off cheesy, it's not coming off corny, and you're getting a really sort of great film that you can really just let your mind go and imagine. Like Carl, you said one of the first things you said was, what if? What would I do in that situation? And when films do that, I think they're already onto a winner. There was a lot of good scenes in this. What were your favourite scenes or most memorable? I'm going to do it a bit early this week.
There's a couple. So I think the first scene that when he first met his friends again, and they gave him the red chattermouth.
Yeah,
and I thought that
guy was Giles. That's exactly what Giles would do. I wrote that down in my notes.
Face.
I was like, if that happened to me, Giles will be making all them jokes, all of them.
Listen. I'm not even going to deny it, because I live by one of the rules I live by. If something's funny, you laugh. Exactly.
Wait, no, sorry. You point and laugh.
Continually.
When everyone's gone home.
Nah, that scene there was funny. The emotional scene though, which I did like, was when his side manager, girlfriend, love interest. I don't know. She's always
wait, hold on.
I used it correctly.
Did he just use
Well done.
Amari. Like a proud parent.
It's only taken 7 shows.
Anyway,
14 hours.
It's when she asks about, why don't you sing this song about me? And he just looked at him like, and then the dad keeps on coming up saying, okay, it's time to go downstairs. Your mum's kind of drunk. And he just looked at her and was like, I don't want to sing. I'm not going to sing. I'm just going now. Bye. And he just went downstairs. And I thought, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was even surprised. How did they even come back together after that scenario? Which I thought was a bit wild. Because, boy, how did she go back to that after that?
It was a good pairing. I think the story that they both told, and just the pairing of them as actors, actor and actress, was really good. Even the scene where they're in Liverpool and they kind of like, it was very relatable. It wasn't
in the tunnel.
Yeah. Like they've gone out because he's got some money and they've had like a slap up fish and chip dinner in some posh hotel. Then he's like, right, should we get some tins? And like, do you know what I mean?
Then keeping it real, grounded,
man.
innit?
Yeah, man. And that's something else I noted. I love, when you get these great British films, because we spend most of our time watching American and other worldwide releases. So when you get British films that have really good British comedy, British banter, British cast, it's refreshing. It's refreshing, and it was done well. Kyle,
and leading on from that scene to where they're in the hotel, and then it's like, it's very awkward. So that's what I would imagine if two best friends did try to get, like, it's like, are you touching my bum? Like, it was very so it was very, again, it was very real. I like that awkwardness about it. And then it wasn't like Hollywood where, they're gonna start kissing and then they do it. Like, it had that element of realness that I really liked.
What were some of your favourites or / memorable scenes from the film?
The scene where he's performing, I forgot what song it is, but he's performing it in front of his parents.
You stole my scene. You stole my scene.
Sorry.
You stole my scene, man.
Go back to back.
That was a standout moment, though.
It was. I love the way how his parents.
You know what? Just before you say that, on the top of his parents, massive shout out Sanjeev, Bhaskar, and Meera Syal.
They are vetties. See, them are recognised.
Yeah,
same.
That scene, it was it was actually quite funny because I could kind of relate to it, because there's times at school when children are trying to show me something, and then something else happens, and your attention gets diverted. Oh, hold on, all right, no, I'm listening. And then they go again, and then something else happens, and it's like it. Yeah, I thought it was brilliantly done.
And I liked it was like the look on their faces, like, oh, go on then, son. Like, it's that parents going to be supportive of anything. Again, like you said, I imagine when Titan's a little boy, even if it's rubbish, I'm going to be like,
Do you know what's so funny though? Like, I don't know about you, man, but because we've turned that into an item, I hear it in my mind. Whenever we get the live version,
that's right. It's not the same.
It's not the same theatre. I'm getting it in the flesh.
I feel like he should only perform it like that.
It's brilliant. It was funny as well because obviously that's one of their greatest songs, and it's like, like certain times you think, I wonder what it would have been like to be in the studio when this person made this song, in the workshop when this person drew this picture, in the room where Steve Jobs discovered like these sort of pivotal moments, and it's like the way they just like poo-pooed it was just hilarious. And then the neighbor come and it was
the neighbor part was the worst part. It was on the phone. It's like
they were more interested in having tea.
He's doing music again.
He's doing it again. Yeah, apparently. Yeah,
but don't wait. Okay, wait. He's gonna stop.
Yeah.
Okay. See you soon.
Did it?
Ding dong.
Yeah, hilarious.
But then
Brilliant
I like
timing.
the bit it kind of went full circle because when he kind of performed it again later,
Yeah.
they were like, "Oh yeah, we were the first ones. We were the first ones to hear that."
Nah,
hilarious. Isn't it? My favourite scene, I don't know if you boys picked up on this, but this was just one of them scenes where I was like, yeah, what a very well put together scene. When I think it was after he signs the deal, and it was a kind of like a sort of like fantastical. He like you saw Jack like in this sort of dark room, and he's looking at his life on screens. And he's seeing himself attaining all this fame.
Oh, the possibility of I don't know, because I don't think it was. I don't think
Or
it
was
happened.
it just before?
I think it's when the agent when he realized what he could do.
Yeah,
and not
yeah,
because
yeah,
it hadn't
yeah.
happened yet. Because the agent was like, "Well, if you don't sign this,
Yeah.
you're gonna sign this. But if you don't sign this,
That's right,
And then
that's
it
right.
had all the flash forward kind of things.
Yeah, yeah.
But okay, piggyback of that.
Yeah.
One of my other enjoyable scenes was the mega marketing meeting that you had to fly back from. Because I was like, this is the most. How you gonna have 80 people in a room and be like,
and clapping
Yeah,
every
just-
single
You
song.
see the way that their necks were turning. Any time it was like, so you had the black guy at the top, like, we're gonna turn you into a superstar. We are gonna make you Jack. Da-da-da-da. And then he was like, well, I've got tonight. And everyone's like, looks at him, and then goes back. Yeah, that's all right, but we're gonna do it. It's just like,
not
on the speed, innit?
it's
Like,
the disrespect of all the album names. And he went,
Yeah.
I know.
But this is what I'm saying about, when I love the difference in like Americans and British, and that was such a great scene where you had him just calm and normal, and then it was like that's how most British people perceive Americans to be, just over the top, extra, and it was nice to see it in that environment. What did you guys think of Ed Sheeran's character in this, by the way, just out of interest? Do you think he was a good supporting role? Do you think it went?
Yeah, I
liked him.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he did well.
yeah, I wouldn't have known. Like, if you didn't know who he was, you wouldn't have been fussed about who he was. If that makes sense, you wouldn't be fussed about him being a famous musician. You're just watching it, thinking, "Oh, you're somebody that also can sing." Kind of.
And going back to what you said, like he was playing a parody of himself as the greatest singer ever, which he could say because obviously the Beatles didn't exist.
Yeah, but that's. I don't think it was a parody though. In my mind,
Do you think he's actually like that?
I feel like he would like to be like that, but then also he's learned not to be like that.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you're gonna try to tell me you're that famous and your head doesn't get turned a little.
Yeah, I
So
I
it's
think
a
that as well.
parody, but I feel like he can express a way he would want to be if he wasn't the way he is.
Oh, wow. I didn't look at
like
it
an
like
alter ego
Yeah,
kind of
that's
thing.
what I mean. It's
that. Do you think he's got this alter ego in your
I
life?
feel like everyone has that part
he's-
element of that. It's not to do with who everyone has it. It's just how much you let out of it. Do you let all of it out, or is you the other way? Everyone's got a different side to them.
I tell you what though, he's coming up because he had that little cameo in Game of Thrones.
I'm very thinking, you know what?
and then he's
gonna be-
co-starring in movies.
It's gonna be interesting because I feel like in 10 years,
Yeah.
he's definitely gonna have his
That
own
crossover.
movie.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be interesting if he
Nah,
does
I
his
don't think
own.
that,
Well, I think it's gonna be interesting when he has his biopic. If he does it himself as the old dude. No, I'm being deadly serious.
He could just get the same technology as Nick Fury in Captain Marvel.
Hold on, so are you telling
I know
me?
a few
Are
dons
you
that
telling
could
me?
benefit from that technology. But that's another. that's another
story.
conversation.
As opposed to Charles Dance, who just could play himself at any age. It doesn't matter what age.
Charles, we need you to be 10. Consider it done. I had two quick points before we get to the star rating. Two questions. Number one, what did you think of the John Lennon scene as well? I thought that was a very tasteful. Again, we're in a reality where obviously it's not real, innit? So the fact that he was still alive, and then obviously Jack goes to see him at the end before the performance. I thought that was quite cool.
I didn't like it.
Oh, why?
This is where the film started to drag for me. Towards the end, I think they could have cut about 20 minutes off. there were a few moments that I was like,
What moments?
so the moments with the two people that are like, oh, we know it's you. Yeah.
See, I thought that was quite
good.
pivotal
That
and
moment was
important to the
needed.
film.
Yeah.
Yes.
moment
What did
was
it do
needed.
though?
Because it added well, for me, it added suspense. It added kind of like, but why? How
But
did
then
they know?
was
Like,
no suspense
it wasn't
because
that.
it was like
No.
I think it humanized him.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was that partially that, but it was more because he didn't know what to do. He
Yeah.
had been thinking for a long
He
time.
had a massive struggle.
about what to do,
Yeah.
about what would be the best thing to do. So then he did the performance at the hotel that didn't want him.
Yeah.
For his
Which
for his girlfriend. That's
in
not
fact,
his girlfriend.
let me just drop one. I thought that scene was wicked as well. Like
Oh,
the way-
when they went there the first time.
not even. Well, that was my second point. I wanted to get your opinion on that character, but just the way that the story behind it. Like obviously he tried to do it before and they was closing down or whatever, and then he's come back and he's this massive star, and the visual of just the crowd and he was on the roof. I thought was wicked.
But no, you needed that scene because that scene basically got him to the position where he knew he wanted to give up everything and then chase his girl correctly. So that's why that scene was
I
important.
know why it wasn't. I just didn't think it was necessary. It kind of was like, okay, why?
In fact, you know what?
Didn't really feel it.
Another English veteran, Sarah Lancashire. Forgot to
she's
even
been
tell me. She's
about
been
for a
on it
while,
for
yeah.
time. So again, it's just seeing some of these faces that have kind of grown up with British dramas and seen them on TV. It was pretty cool. And yeah, before we go star ratings, I've forgotten his name, but the character who was like the sort of the stage manager guy.
Rocco.
That's the one.
Who is he? Because I've seen him in other things before.
I
He was just a
couldn't tell you.
donut, wasn't he? He just
Yeah.
I wrote in the notes that the only quote I put down was gingers and rap sounds a bit crap. Like
Yeah,
it
no,
was so
that exchange was that on the plane. Yeah, I like that exchange. Yeah,
it was so
I like
dumb.
that.
It was so dumb that I just couldn't. You know, no one else in the cinema was laughing, but when he dropped that, it got me because it was just so stupid. But
Nah, he had quite a few good comebacks on the plane.
as annoying as he was, I think he again added
added-
another
he added
element
value.
to the film. Right, so this is going to be very interesting. Star rating, scores on the doors. Amari, I'm going to start down the middle this week.
4 stars. It gets a
Respectable.
solid 4 stars because it was sung better. I enjoyed a lot of elements in the film. I didn't like the John Lennon scene simply because he has passed. So
He didn't think it was a respectful nod.
I didn't think it was required because he could have done that. He could have got to where he wanted to in the film without seeing him. And obviously, they probably had to get it signed off to get that respectful nod, and I understand that. But that's how the group is. So this is the situation. If he was, it was nice saying, "Oh, I had a wonderful life, etc." But the guy was by himself, so I was kind of like, would you not show him with show him with a family, show him with kids or grandkids at that age, and you didn't? And I was kind of like, that defeats the purpose of you saying, "I've had a happy life, but I'm still alone." So I was like, then don't add him into the thing because you don't see him actually having a happy life. You see him having the end of a happy life.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's a bit annoying. And I do feel like it's a bit silly for him not to not take any money, but to go back to playing in schools because he should still sing the songs.
Oh, as the ending of the film.
So that's why like it was going really well. But for
It's
what?
interesting you say that.
Because I feel like, yeah, it's good that you should still perform the songs because people enjoy you singing it, and they're gonna know that it wasn't yours originally, but they're gonna still feel like you're the original person for it. I'm not asking you to make money from it, but you should still perform them for an audience that can actually understand it. Playing it to school kids, nah.
Kyle.
Yeah, overall I enjoyed the film. Thought it had a lot of heart and depth to it. Could have been a film where a guy that utilizes his knowledge of the Beatles to become successful, but I thought instead it actually explored how life and relationships would change as a result and posed several moral conundrums as well, I thought.
Give us a couple of examples.
Just in terms of would you, his girlfriend for instance, now she wants to try and make a relationship happen. Is that because now he's successful and famous? Is she coming for the money? Sort of thing. I thought it posed several little small questions like that. Like, what would you actually do? And if you did know the Beatles songs, would you give it all away at the end? Would you actually announce it? And what sort of person does that make you person? I just thought there was kind of decisions in the film that were some explored quite deep and some not so much. I like that. I appreciate again the realness of the film in terms of his rise to superstardom, the challenges that he would face coming with that in terms of he still doesn't look the part like his manager was getting onto him about his looks all the time.
No one actually spoke about that. But the American manager was something else.
Yeah, she was giving it to him. So I liked that he knew the songs, but he still wasn't that guy to begin with. She was looking to mold him. So I thought the comedy was clever as well, and it was the right tone. There were only 3 issues that I had with the film. I didn't like the scene with the 2 people. As I said, didn't think it added, didn't understand it. The ending, very Hollywood, unnecessary. Did not like that at all. And as I said, I thought it overstayed its welcome.
Yep.
After about 100 minutes, they could have cut about 20 minutes out.
He timed
Get out. Leave.
Come on.
So for me,
Are you still here?
yeah, it did.
Why are you still here?
Did you just randomly start shouting this out in the cinema?
Just go, would you?
Can you imagine? You watching it
For the love of God, just go.
Sorry, go on.
So yeah, for me it was 3 stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Giles.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 stars. I thought it was a solid film all the way through. I liked the, I think you used the word morality, Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the fact that you've got one of the greatest bands ever, if not the greatest band ever, arguably. But you've got this world where they don't exist. But you've got this one guy who partially remembers the songs, and it was almost like it was his job to kind of act as his vessel to get the songs back in so that they could be shared.
Yeah.
So actually, I get the journey that he took in terms of he saw the money, he saw the fame and the fortune, but then actually, when those 2 people kind of came to him and they were like, we know, and we're glad. Because even when they came to me, it kind of looked like they were going to out him, as it were.
Yeah.
But they was like, no, we'd have done the same thing.
And that's, for me, off the back of that, that's why I liked that edition. Because when I said suspense, it was like from when he was in Russia and there was that, he's like...
That's right, the guy was in the crowd.
And he was just standing there. Everyone's gone, he was still standing.
Like,
and it was like, okay, so something's weird with him. And it just made me start asking questions. So when it was the reveal and they were actually like, no, like this, I thought that was really nice.
Because if you think about
unexpected.
it, if he partially remembers the songs and he was going through the process of remembering them all, they would have been going through some sort of process as well. So you've just got these 3 random people, because he didn't know, the man didn't know the woman, and they didn't know him.
Yeah.
So they would have, that's like a separate story in itself to kind of get him in they confront him at the concert at the end. But yeah, I thought it was good. Like I said, Beatles songs don't exist, but how can we get them so that the whole world, because they are supposed to be shared by the whole world.
Yeah.
And it was almost like he did his job in doing that. And I thought it was quite poignant, the fact that he did go back to just being this humble guy and singing in school. And when you said about that question you asked about the girlfriend, love interest, whatever, she didn't give up teaching.
Yeah.
Throughout.
Yeah. She was so,
which again was quite realistic.
Yeah, they kind of were in and out of bits, and she kind of went off with the other guy, which was quite weird.
Yeah, that was a bit of a dislike for me.
Really weird. It was like, yeah, we're gonna. Although I thought that where they were recording, I can't remember the name of the place.
Oh, in his studio by the train.
By the train
that
station.
was a good scene as well when he shows them and they was like.
But then all of a sudden, after that, they were together.
Yeah,
which kind of didn't kind of make sense. But overall,
Rebound.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. But then, yeah, I guess because she always wanted to be with him, didn't she? She always loved him, and
That's all she
he didn't see it.
I didn't see it. I don't know.
But yeah, no. So yeah, 3 stars from me.
And off the back of that, 3 stars from me as well. I felt this was an all-round feel-good movie. Danny Boyle does an excellent job of telling a fantastical tale, which he always does. Didn't know where this was going to go as well, which for me added intrigue. From quite early on, I just was like, what is this? I kept asking loads of questions. So when the whole scene where he's on the bus and then the lights went out and he has the accident, and then I was thinking, right, so that's an element of sci-fi. So then I started expecting more sci-fi, and then kind of where it came back to a pretty normal sort of setting, and then it was like it just kept me guessing. I was like, yeah, this is really good. And as I said earlier on, I love the British feel. In the sort of like, we spend a lot of time watching movies from around the world, from America. It was nice to have a very strong, well-made British film with bits that we can all relate to. Storyline was unusual and interesting. It was something different. It was refreshing as well. And the way that the plot was paced, the ending for me is what kind of brought this down a bit, because it was en route to be 4, but the kind of speeding up of the reveal at Wembley, and then the randomness of the other boyfriend just kind of, there was a few sort of like, it's kind of like they had to tie it up, and I thought it just kind of sat out a bit of the pacing for me, which I thought they kind of copped out here. And there were a few bits in the film which did drag a little bit too much for my liking. But saying that, I did enjoy the journey I was taking on, and I've got to give Himesh Patel, man, great performance. I thought he kind of was the sort of the centre of this film, and everything else revolved around him, but it was done in such a very smooth, cool and relatable way. So with that, we're giving Yesterday the TMRG star rating of 3 stars.
Just before we go into the next topic,
Yeah.
so that's the third film, as we say, in kind of relating to musical pop stars and groups, etc.
Yes.
So this is now my favourite out of the 3, because I liked it better than Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Which I know most of the group disliked in comparison.
I haven't seen it. I still haven't seen it.
In comparison to
No,
Rocket Man.
I like Bohemian
More than
Rhapsody.
Rocket Man.
Yeah, more than Rocket Man.
So
then
it's
that
Rocket
was-
Man over Bohemian for me.
See, for me, it's Rocket Man,
But you haven't seen Bohemian.
but I haven't seen Bohemian.
But would you put this over Rocket Man over Yesterday?
But you can't. I don't think you can compare them.
But
no.
I'm comparing it in terms of
in the conversation of it's about a
of
musical
icon
Yeah,
from the
But
past.
this wasn't.
It wasn't a Beatles biopic.
Yeah.
But
this was a separate storyline, because
Yeah.
I liked all of the moral things about this film, which if I saw a Beatles biopic, I wouldn't get all of those themes.
But this is how their storyline's being portrayed per se. Because
But
even
it's not a Beatles biopic.
I'm not saying it's a biopic, but in terms of it being about an icon and their music, how it influences them, how it influences culture and themselves.
So because I get what you're saying, because even though it's not the same style of film, it's still a film about
it's still
the
a-
effect of their music. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see
I
what
get
you're
it,
saying.
but I think they're two totally
So you
different
can't compare.
things.
You couldn't
No.
compare them.
I think you can compare Bohemian Rhapsody, even though I haven't seen it, to Rocket Man, but I
Yeah.
don't think you can. The only kind of link between this and those two is music, but not per se. Not per se, because those films are about the artist's life.
Yeah.
It's from whenever whatever point in time to another point in time.
Yeah.
This is about a group that technically doesn't exist.
But you know what? In that case, let's wait and see until this Bruce Springsteen one comes out, because I think it's going to go down a similar route that Yesterday is, and it's where it's not a biopic, but the theme is about an icon, a musical icon.
Okay.
So we shall remember this. We'll come back to it.